This is a Lip Media podcast.
You're listening to All the Shit I've Learned Abroad. I'm Andrea Gillis.
And I'm Steph Page. We're two Canadian expats now living in Australia and the UK.
Between the two of us, we've been through the ringer in our travels, experiencing missed flights, volcanic eruptions, and even a terrorist attack.
It's not all that extreme, though. We've also experienced heartwarming, life-changing moments and met amazing people along the way. So kick back and listen to all the shit I've learned abroad.
Welcome to another episode of All the Shit I've Learned Abroad. I'm Andrea.
And I'm Stephanie.
Hello, Steph. How's it going?
It's going really well. How about you, Andrea?
I'm good. I have some good news to report.
What would that be?
Anyone that listened last week knows that I lost my luggage on the way home from New York, but it's been found. And It's now back with me. I got it back a week later. They found it. It was sitting in New York all by itself.
I feel like they can make a really good animated movie out of that. Like, they've done animals getting lost. They've done food as animated characters. They could do luggage. Like, what do all the animated luggage say to each other in those stranded luggage rooms?
Oh, that's quite sad to think about.
I bet they can make a cute movie.
You're thinking like the next big like Pixar film.
Exactly. You should pitch that.
Disney, if you're listening, Steph and I have a good idea. Well, it wasn't my idea. I can't
leave it in the episode. So if it ever happens, we can be like, nope, on record, our idea.
This was our idea. You owe us some money. This is how we're going to become rich.
Yes. We finally have a tangible plan. Because God knows podcasting isn't going to do it.
Yep, that's for sure. But yeah, it's back. It's I got it back like a week later. So no more stress. I was stressing hard over that bag.
I remember how much you were stressing when you flew to Australia and they took your battery pack away. Oh, God. I couldn't even imagine your luggage. I bet you were a peach.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely handled it with grace and decorum.
Mm-hmm. I bet you did.
Well, we're not talking about missing bags today, though. Today we're going to do... So even though our podcast name is All the Shit I've Learned Abroad, we're actually going to not go abroad today.
Right.
And we're talking about what's known as the staycation. Steph and I always say to be able to travel, it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. You don't have to go far to be able to experience new things and create memories from just, doing things even in your hometown or traveling to places just on your doorstep.
I really became a fan of the staycation. I never did it in Canada. I always laughed. And if I was driving, I would drive to the States somewhere. Now that I'm in Australia, I really do wish I saw more of Canada while I lived there.
I agree.
But once I moved to Australia and I was applying for my visa, one of the stipulations at that point is you can't leave the country.
Yeah, you were stuck there. I remember you were going a bit stir crazy because you're like, I am not able to fly out. I mean, I think there was a few instances where you could, but
yeah, I had to apply and basically pay them a buttload of money to let me.
It was like a pain in the ass. Yeah.
Yeah. But between not being allowed to leave the country, and I'm also not a city girl. You know this. I'm not a big city girl.
No.
I like small towns, and I live in Melbourne, which is not.
This is where Steph and I, again, are very opposite, where I'm very much a city girl.
Yes.
Steph's a country girl.
Oh, it didn't take me long moving here to realize I had to get out of the city every 3 to 4 weeks, or I get really antsy, I get crazy, I get irritable. And I have become a newfound fan of the staycations. And I'm just going to clarify. So I looked it up beforehand. Oxford Dictionary, shout out definition.
Right.
So they define a staycation essentially as a holiday spent in one's home country rather than abroad.
Okay.
Or one spent at home and involving day trips to local attractions.
So like just around where you live. And this is, so for me being in London, like you could, there's lots to do. And
I thought this would be very fitting because as I mentioned briefly last week, I booked a flight over to see you to London in March.
Yes.
And what we don't talk about on the show is right now you're actively looking and buying a place soon. Mm-hmm. My partner and I are actively looking and buying a place soon. So for anyone who's bought a house, that shit tightens your finances.
So
for
we're
quite a while.
fucking broke, basically, is what you're trying to say.
Yes.
Or we will be broke come
I-
March when you're looking to come over here. Yeah, I definitely will be.
Yeah. So I messaged you and I was like, hey, because the great thing about Europe is other countries are very close and accessible. So at first we've been like, oh, let's go here. Let's go to Eastern Europe. And then I had to message you and say, actually, I think I'm going to be broke then. Like, can we go somewhere maybe within England?
Yeah.
Maybe?
And to be fair, I feel like every time you've come over here or when you were like, we haven't really experienced a lot of England. And I haven't even, to be fair, in the 9 years I've lived here. Again, like you said, most of the time if I go on holiday, I'm getting on a plane. I'm going to another country. And I haven't, and I'm trying to see more of the UK and specifically England, because I was talking to a friend the other day about, they're like, oh, where have you gone in England? I haven't been to that many places in England. So yeah, we decided, there's some really beautiful spots on the countryside. There's some really nice hikes and walks we can do. So that's what Steph and I decided we're going to do.
Yes. So we are planning essentially our own staycation together, even though I guess I'll be abroad. I don't know how that skews the definition.
Yeah, I know what you mean, though. I guess it wouldn't be a staycation for you, but, it
is. I lived in
this-
London, so I'm
Yeah.
used. I've been there so many times. It feels like a second, third, fourth.
You
fifth
get
home.
sick of London after a while. Just visit it as like a holiday. You know what I mean? Like living here, it's one thing, but my parents are the same. Like if they come visit me, they're just like, we've seen London many times. Let's go do something else. I'm like, cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So I thought it would be fitting to talk about staycations. Even I've done recently. I'm not sure if I know you haven't done too many, but I know you've been getting out in terms of the day trip definition. You've been going on some hikes and getting out of the city. And yeah, I just want to talk about that and the benefits of it. I just got to say, this is another level of travel snobbery that I've shed off of myself. Because I used to see other people doing this and be like, oh, like that's 2 hours away. You could do that anytime.
Right.
And it's like as you get wiser and older, you start to appreciate things more.
Well, and as you get older, the more broke you are, right? Isn't that how it works?
That's sure how it feels.
Yeah. Maybe you
Yeah.
got to do the staycations, especially, I've got friends, that have kids and they do a lot of staycations because they're like, it's expensive to fly your kids anywhere.
Yeah. As
Like,
soon as
it all adds up, right?
Definitely. So the one thing I really got going is I was looking at, because I was preparing a little for this episode, and I was trying to wrap my mind around just the psychology of it all. Because why do we travel? We travel either to relax, we travel to get renewed inspiration, we travel to see new things. And you can do all of those things close to home.
Yeah.
It's just we take those things for granted.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. So what also excited me about this episode was I was away this weekend. So about 2 hours from Melbourne, there's a town called Bendigo. I'd never been there. I'd heard of it. I've driven past it on the highway. And they had this Bendigo Blues and Roots Festival going on. And they had about 50 different venues with hundreds of artists all playing all throughout the day. And you pretty much go on a big pub crawl. And you go, and you just check out all the local blues music or roots. They're all predominantly Australian artists. But it was incredible. We spent the day just, drinks from noon till night, having a drink at one place, watching this artist. And we saw the diversity of it was incredible. The town was beautiful. I had no idea. This was a gold rush town from during the gold rush.
Right.
So everything there was built on gold. So all the architecture there was incredible. Oh, it was so beautiful. And I completely forgot I was within 2 hours of my home.
Well, and I think festivals are a really good idea for something that you can, because I feel like most cities will have, like, especially in the summertime, like London's a great example. There's always a festival going on at any weekend in the summer, whether it's in London or just outside of London. And that's always a really good staycation, I think. Even if you, get to a festival, listen to some music, and you don't have to go far for it.
Yeah, and it literally, we drove there. Our entire costs were gas, hotels. I booked on hotels.ca. And then just what we decided to spend on drinks. That was it. And it was
all your budget went to drinks.
Yep. I mean, I'm pretty sure we spent more on drinks than we did on the other two combined, for sure. It is Australian prices after all.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, it's just been incredible. And I've got a whole bunch coming up. I'm doing overnight hikes where I'm taking my day packs and I'm going to be hiking all day, camping at night. And I did a hike last week where they had this is going to sound really corny, but I've never seen so many trees I'd never seen in my life. Doesn't that sound silly?
What, trees?
Trees, yeah. There were so many trees, and I think the group were laughing at me because they're all very used to they're Australian outdoors.
Right.
And I was stopping the group to take photos of trees.
You're such a nerd.
That I'd never seen. I just didn't know.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, like doing walks, hikes, as we mentioned, like it's cheap. It doesn't cost anything to do that. And again, Steph, you and I, we've planned to do the Seven Sisters walk while you're here. So, I mean, that's what I've still never done. And everyone tells me it's absolutely amazing. So I'm going to wait for you.
Yes,
and that's what we're going to do.
you.
But it's going to be a we go with our map, and it's a free activity. I think, like you said, the only cost will be hotel while we're there. We might go to the pub, have a few drinks. But even then, out there, a drink doesn't cost as much as it does in London. So actually, we'll probably be saving money by getting out of London for a couple days.
100%. If you should see what I spent last time I was in London. Because I was doing I'm sure the pound is not that far off to the dollar. Brexit's crashing it.
Yeah.
No. I spent an exorbitant amount of money there unintentionally.
Oh, we won't talk about that.
And another one. So I recently went away. It was in September, actually, for my birthday weekend. Girlfriend and I went on a little road trip, and she found on Airbnb. So I don't know if anyone knows this, but on Airbnb, you can filter by the types of places you want to stay. Mm-hmm. And the standard accommodation on Airbnb are, a room in someone's house, an apartment to yourself, a place to yourself. But then once you get into the more forest and the outdoors, they have really unique experiences. Have you ever stayed at any of the unique?
I haven't, but I have seen them. It's like you said, you stay at these hotels or Airbnbs for, the experience. It's a very unique, boutique-y type, either room or flat, whatever it might be.
Yeah, so we actually stayed in a yurt.
Oh, I've stayed in a yurt before.
Have
Not
you?
through Airbnb. Yeah, it was like some work thing.
Oh my gosh.
It was quite cool. I loved it.
love
I mean, it was 37 degrees though.
Oh.
We were in the middle of a massive heat wave, but yeah, it was cool though, nonetheless.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, and you can stay they have tree houses. They have so many different types of places that I'd never heard of. So it's like, even though you're staying local to home, you can find these really unique experiences that maybe you didn't realize they have for you.
Existed so close, right?
Yeah. So the one thing that really surprised me is all the different types of places you can stay. So you can have crazy cool experiences depending on where you live, obviously, but within a few hours of yourself. I'm sure you've seen these. Have you seen, for example, there's igloos in Norway. Have you seen those?
Oh, yes. Are those the ones where you can sleep under the stars, basically?
Yep. So it's all.
Or are you talking about actual igloos or the clear ones where you sleep?
No. They're not real. They're they're igloo shaped and it's all glass. So you're sleeping under.
Yeah, they've got those in a lot of, I think, Scandinavian countries, like Norway as well, where you can see the northern lights.
Well, that's where I'd always seen them, and you always see these glamorous pictures on, top travel buckets in the top bucket list places to stay in the world. But they have one here in Australia.
Really?
So sometimes you think these things are so far away, and you just don't think to look what's near you.
Right. Okay. Yeah. That's cool. So are you going to go stay in an igloo in Australia?
I mean, it's definitely on the list. Yes.
Igloo in Australia. I never thought I would say both those words in a sentence.
I didn't even think about it till you said it that way.
Yeah. All right. That's cool.
Okay.
Right.
Think think about the Airbnb you stayed in when you were here? We stayed at an animal sanctuary, just a couple hours from me.
Oh yeah, that's right. The animal sanctuary. We fed the kangaroos, and what was the pig-like thing that thought it was a dog?
No, the wombats.
That's it, the wombat.
That is the worst description I've ever heard for a wombat.
I couldn't remember what it was called.
I feel like she would yell at you.
Well, whatever.
And I got to tell you, because we were bottle feeding animals, my parents love those photos so much. And for anyone who doesn't know, my parents are coming to visit me in Australia for a month. They're going to do that next weekend. They're going to the same sanctuary because they want to do the same things. They want to see the albino kangaroo and bottle feed them and see the wombats. And yeah, they're
gonna
really
stay in
envious.
They're going to stay in the camper van that we stayed in?
Yep. Same camper van,
caravan?
same everything.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So there's another idea, guys. But you mentioned animals. And, now a lot of cities, they have city farms, right? So even in London, another good example, if anyone is listening in the UK or in London, there's so many city farms now that you can go to. So there's the Hackney City Farm. There's the Vauxhall City Farm, and you can go and they've got animals. I know the one in Vauxhall, they've got the alpacas there. So that's another idea. You can go. A lot of them have like cute little cafes in there where they use eggs from the chickens. And so, yeah, city farms. That's something I do a lot. Again, if I'm like broke and I just feel like I need to go and do something cool in the city, I go to the city farms, and they don't cost a lot. I think it's like a couple pounds to get in. Go check out all the cute little animals.
Aw, I love that.
Yeah. And then on top, we went last year, actually, me and a couple friends from work. We went to this alpaca farm that's about like half an hour. It was really cool. Half an hour outside of London. It was like in Essex. So kind of London, but kind of outside. And yeah, so we went to this alpaca farm, and we got to have basically like a pet alpaca for the day. And we would walk it around, and we got to feed it. And then you learned about all the alpacas for the day. And it was really cool. And it was so fun. It was like literally the best day ever. I had
love
this
that.
white alpaca, and her name was Pavlova, and she was a sassy bitch. And
Just like you.
I know. I feel like we all got matched up with, our personalities. But that was another really cool thing that we did. So a nice little staycation. Check out the city farms, guys, or find an alpaca farm if you can. Who doesn't want to go to an alpaca farm?
No one. Everyone does.
Everyone wants to have a pet alpaca for the day.
So I was recently looking to go away for a weekend, and I found this one place that looked really cool. And it said you got to stay in the post office.
Stay in a post office?
Yeah, I was really intrigued. So I was reading it, and to look at the building, it was very clearly, a very 100-year-old type of traditional post building where there was probably a lot of history, and at some point it was the center of the town. And then I was reading the reviews, and this one guy wrote on it, he's like, stayed here, it's actually a post office, still a post office, I stayed in a post office.
I mean, why would anyone want to stay in a post office though? I don't get it.
Like, why did you and I stayed in a jail cell?
Yeah, but it wasn't like a functioning jail. Like, we weren't in prison.
I think the town, it's just one of those really small towns, like population 200, where it's the only unique angle they had going for them. And there's a room in the post office building. So they Airbnb it.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah. They're multiple revenue streams.
Okay. Another unique experience that you can do at home. Hey, guys, check out in your hometown if you can sleep in the post office for the night.
That would be fantastic. We're laughing, but someone somewhere has done it.
Definitely. Guys, if you've slept in a post office, please let us know and tell us how your experience was.
I also have on my Australian bucket list to stay in a lighthouse.
I get a lighthouse. I mean, I could get people staying in a lighthouse.
Yeah.
Not a post office. I'm sure in the UK you can, because there's so many seaside towns here. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of these places have lighthouses.
Yeah. Honestly, I can find lighthouses all around the world where you can stay in. So, I mean, I think it's a realistic staycation option for a lot of people. I mean, obviously, if you're landlocked and you don't have any water in driving distance. Maybe not.
I mean, if you live in parts of Canada, like Saskatchewan or Alberta, it's like, yeah, you're maybe not going to.
I mean, I've looked at our stats. I don't think we have any listeners in Saskatchewan or Alberta.
All right.
Sorry.
but yeah, going back, like seaside towns, that's a big thing that the Brits do. Yeah, you drive a couple hours or even get on the train and go an hour outside of London, and you're in like these really cute seaside towns where you can go to the beach, you can eat oysters, you can get cheap pints, which is always great, not paying London prices. But yeah, I've been to a couple of these. There's a place called Margate. I absolutely love Margate. I went a few years ago, though. It was at the time, I guess it was a bit run down. But now they've kind of redone it again. And it's now quite a popular like seaside destination for people to go to. So places like that, people can, you can go to Cornwall in the UK. There's tons of places.
Well, the one thing I think this won't be relevant for really our Australian or North American listeners, but for you being in Europe, there are tons of really incredible castle stays.
Yes.
We can stay in a castle.
I've seen a lot of castles in the UK.
I know.
Steph, do you remember when we went to Scotland? We went and saw the Edinburgh Castle, and we were in there for like 20 minutes, and we're like, great, another castle. It's still a great castle, though. Banging castle, if anyone is looking to go.
Oh, but yeah, so really what I'm trying to do here, is I'm low-key trying to inspire you for our staycation planning when I come there.
Oh, so you want to stay in a castle?
I mean, I don't know if I do, but let's look into it.
I'll call up the Queen and see if we can crash for the night.
The worst they'll say is no.
True.
New goal. Stay with the Queen. Buckingham Palace.
Done deal. I can sort that out.
I'm going to write them an email from our official Shit Abroad Pod email address. Yeah, you got to help me out. It's got to be witty, and you're the witty one.
Right, that's true. Okay.
Also, if you know, like maybe someone has a friend who is a fan of the staycations or they can't go, one of the best things I've had personally happen in Australia is family members here, my in-laws, who have given us gifts that are kind of these websites. So the two websites I've gotten are adrenaline.com.au and redballoon.com.au, where it's a gift card to the site, and then you can book experiences on the site.
All right.
So I've actually done weekends away where my partner and I, we find super cheap accommodation. We book something, whether we've done quadding, we've done go-karting, just, really fun, exciting date type things away just a couple hours out of Melbourne, and it's a whole weekend away.
Yeah, they definitely have. I've seen similar apps in the UK, and I know I've got friends that have gone. What is it called? They learn how to like train falcons. Hold on. So like you can pay to go out to the countryside, and basically you have like a big falcon on your arm, and then they fly around, and like I don't know, you just train them to, I guess, fly back. But anyways, that's the thing. And then you can also go like clay shooting. There's just loads of stuff, like you said, like just little daytime activities that you can easily do. And I can guarantee you some of these apps, like the ones you mentioned, like Groupon, you can always find activities on Groupon.
Groupon's the best.
Yeah, just to see what's going on either in your hometown or, like you said, if you need to drive like an hour or two away, just to find like cool stuff to do. It's so easy to do. And again, like I feel like people take for granted a lot of the time where they live and the stuff that is going on around them. And yeah, they do feel like they have to have like a vacation. They have to leave. They have to go outside of where they're from, and you don't have to.
And I think that's really what I wanted to emphasize today, because for some people, they have these grandiose images of traveling and vacations in their head. And it doesn't need to be that way. I know you and I preach, like if you want to do something, you can do it, save for it, plan for it. But sometimes, and you and I are like this, I need to get away every couple weeks for my sanity, or else I go crazy in the city.
Right.
And
exactly.
I can't, obviously doing that every couple weeks, if I don't find ways to do that cheap and reasonable, it's not feasible. So I just really wanted to pass this on because I'm a big fan.
Totally. And another thing, if you do live in a big city, like one of the best things about living in London, and what I've done this before where I've just taken a day off from work, and I just go check out museums. And like, thankfully here they're free.
Oh.
Like, does Melbourne you do have lots of
Oh,
museums there?
you know what? We have so many that I haven't been to yet. I've been to the
Ooh.
National Gallery of Victoria, but
Yeah.
I know there's some other incredible ones because here we have the NGV. I've been there. I've taken tons of tours there because they also have really cool immersive exhibits going on all the time. But there's so many I walk by. I walk by the Immigration Museum. There's the ACMI, which is the Australian Centre for the Moving Image. They have a sports museum. Like, there are tons here, and I haven't gone to. And every time I walk by them, I'm like, why haven't I done this?
I think it's one of those things, as you said, that people just, when you live somewhere and you've got all this stuff at your doorstep, you just don't ever get around to doing it. And it's the same being in London. I've done a lot of the museums here. So we've got like the Science Museum, the V&A, which is a great one. We've got Tate Modern, which is a really popular one, the Tate Britain. But yeah, I haven't done all of them yet. So I think I need to maybe book another day off work at some point and have a little museum day just on my own.
Yeah. And think about it, because it gives you that sense of, you've taken the time off work too. If you do that, like, you get that sense, that rush, that excitement of not going into work. And how many nights or days, especially me, because I work from home, where I sit at home all day.
Yeah.
Like, I can literally go to a museum and then work in the coffee shop.
You could work in the museum.
I'll just pretend I work there. I'll grab a name tag, put it on, and give fake tours.
Love
until
it.
I get kicked out.
God. Please do that. You should become a tour guide on the side.
I feel like I would have had it in me when I was 25 to pretend. And now as I'm older, I'm like, oh, what will they do?
You'll be kicked out of Australia for sure.
Really, they'll be like, ma'am, you need to leave. That's all that.
Ma'am, please leave.
Ma'am, you are not a tour guide. You may not give this tour.
Ma'am, please pack up your laptop and get out. We're not going to ask you again. And Steph was then banned from all museums in Melbourne.
It started with good intentions. But yeah, and also within Melbourne, and I'm going to look this up after. I wish I did it before to see if London has something similar. So if you go into northern Victoria, there's a highway with almost nothing there. It's just small town, small town, small town. And what they did to make that road trip more exciting and to encourage people to pull off into those small towns to encourage business was all the grain silos. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to post this on our Instagram. They have painted these silos like you will not believe. It is stunning. And the work that and these are these massive, some of them are 5 silos wide, portraits. And it is incredible. Okay. So what's happening is you see it coming up on the highway and you pull over and everyone gets out and walks, and there's signs explaining who the artist is and what it represents. And you take photos, and then the local cafes are nearby. So it actually helps stimulate the economy nearby of all these small towns that otherwise were kind of dwindling.
They've got this thing in London by this. He's like a French like street artist. And he's painted a bunch of different Space Invaders. So you remember like the Space Invaders game from the 80s?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's painted I think there's like over 100 of them in London. And one of the things is like you go out and try to find all the Space Invaders. I think like a lot of them are in Soho in London, but it's like quite a cool little thing that you can do. Again, if you just have like a day to kill, just spend the day
definitely
going and searching for Space Invaders.
One thing I think that's an important part of a staycation, don't tell anyone you're doing a staycation.
Why is that? Why do you think that?
Well, I mean, for me, my work, I've always been glued to my phone. I'm always on call. Since I work remotely, people assume I'm always available at all times.
Oh, right.
So sometimes you just need to set the boundary of, I'm off, I'm going to be away. And I mean, it's no one's business where away is for you.
So what you're saying is if you tell people that you're like, if you're off work, but you're just staying kind of close to home, that they'll bother you more? Is that what you're saying?
Definitely. And I think a very important part of, the staycation is to get that feeling of vacation.
Right.
Without maybe the cost or time that a lot of abroad vacations can take. But if you tell people you're close, or if they know, they think you're still available. Or, oh, you have a couple days off and you're not going anywhere. Let's go for dinner. Can I come over for lunch? Or things, which is nice. I mean, if that's what you want to do. But a staycation is to get that feeling of vacation, which means shutting down, turning off, and
relaxing.
Going, yeah. I think an important part is not to tell people that's what you're doing, to do it for yourself.
That's a good tip. I would have never thought to do that. Because, I've definitely done that where I've taken just a day off work and people ask me what I'm doing. And I'm like, I'm just chilling at home. And as you said, it's either that then my work are getting in touch with me with questions about stuff because they know it's only a day and they know I'm in town. And and then you just don't feel like you've had that, as you said, relaxing switch off. I mean, which is the whole idea of going on holiday or having a vacation is the switch off mode.
Exactly. And one thing I'm notoriously guilty of that I've really had to address is I'm an independent contractor. I invoice people for my time. And when I take days off, if I check my phone and respond, I can spend an hour responding to something that I actually don't even think to invoice for later. I know.
Steph invoices me for her time when we do this podcast. You should see how much it costs to have to speak to my best friend every week.
Through the roof.
Bitch ain't cheap.
That should be every woman's motto.
I don't work for free. That's what Steph always tells me anytime I just need to chat to her.
Okay, first and foremost is to kind of choose the style you want. So do you want a getaway in nature? Do you want a resort type of getaway? Do you want a detox? Do you want a cultural experience? Because all of those things are available within hours of where you live. I mean, unless you're in rural Saskatchewan. Maybe there's nothing near you.
Sorry, guys. If you're in parts of Canada where you really can't escape, then
you can go horseback riding. So decide your budget, spend the bare minimum. There's tons of free things to do. If you are unsure of free things to do near you, I like a challenge. So send me where you live and I will find some shit for you to do.
Steph's good at this kind of stuff. She's really good at finding those really unique, fun experiences. And like you said, Steph's a pro. Get in touch with her.
I swear to God, people say to me things like, oh, it must be nice to be able to do these things all the time. I'm like, I am the cheapest bitch you'll ever meet.
It's true, she is.
Like the world can't be full of people like me because then no one would stay in business. But thankfully, there's people who make money.
I mean, that's not me. Considering how much you invoice your clients, I don't know why you're so cheap.
I
cheap
wish.
Bitch.
Didn't have the time of your life.
Oh, I love it. Well, guys, we've given you tons of ideas what you can do for your own staycation. And like we said, you don't have to go far. You don't have to hop on a plane every time you feel like you want to get away and relax and switch off or create new memories. You can do it all at your doorstep.
Yep. And if you don't know what you can do, I'm serious. My offer stands. Send me where you're located. I'll put together a little mini itinerary for you.
Yeah. And then she'll invoice you for it. All right. Thanks, guys, for listening. Happy staycation. All the Shit I've Learned Abroad is a travel podcast focused on anything and everything related to travel. You can listen to us on multiple platforms from iTunes to Google Play Music and more. And with that, please, if you have a chance, give us a 5-star review on iTunes or whatever platform you listen on. That drives us up the charts and really, really helps us out. Want to support us on Patreon? Find us over at Shit I've Learned Abroad Pod, and donations start as low as just $1. Also, if you could follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Shit Abroad Pod and Facebook by searching all the Shit I've Learned Abroad. Thanks so much for listening.